Welcome to the Codes of Sisterhood, a sacred space for women to unlock the codes of connection, belonging, and feminine power. Here we are rewriting the story and remembering what it means to rise together. We are a collective of women gathering to raise the frequency of the feminine to code what is possible for those who will come after us. This is legacy work for the women who came before, for the women who are here now, and for the women who are yet to come. Welcome, sister. You found your way home. This is the code of sisterhood. So, thank you to our listeners for being with us this week. This week's topic, I am very much excited to dive into it. It's all about being too much, too big, too bold, maybe too bossy, maybe, too structured. It all of it and all in between. And I feel that there has been in the background with us sisters here today of little moments that we've experienced this week where we felt we were too much and then dimmed our light a little bit, kind of hid in the corner and didn't want, thought maybe it's too much, like people won't understand, people won't get it. And we wanted to bring this topic to you all today because it is something that is relatable. It is something that we all manage from time to time. And I remember like this week, I was like, oh my God, maybe I'm being too much. I'm being too bossy. And I just literally was like, okay, well, I will just be quiet and just not say anything. And I had to sit with that and thought to myself, what, wait, why? Why? Like, sometimes we think we're too much to ourselves, but maybe to the whole other world, they're like, no, we want more of this. Like, we love this. We love this energy. And so that is something that I'm going to get the conversation started with today. And Linda, I would love to hear you speak.
Okay. I wanted to start us off today because so much came through just even in your opening, like what I had this like instant discovery just now because too much is like I always say I'm gonna tattoo it because I truly believe like the incarnation of my soul in this lifetime is here to learn this lesson we're talking about today because there was never a time in my life where I wasn't too much of something too loud, too big, too excited, too rambunctious. Like I could go on and on with the adjectives that have been used to describe me. And here's the rub is that it was never like she's amazing, she's so much or she's amazing, she's so rambunctious. It was at least in frequency words like in the frequency in which I received it, it felt derogatory. It felt like too much was actually saying you're not enough, if that even makes sense. Like that's how it translated to me. And here's what I figured out in this exact moment, Julie, that you were talking. It's like the reason that what I shared with the world as a little girl came in as so much is because I could feel the frequency of the magic that I was sharing. Like I could feel the download. I could feel the clairvoyance. I could feel the channel. I could feel God. I could feel the power of what I was about to say. I could feel like it was important. And I was expressing myself with the alignment of energy in which I felt it. And what's crazy is because it's actually going to make me cry a little bit because my work in this life, my school, my entrepreneurship, like everything I'm doing right now is helping women. You know, my school is called the School of the Invisible Arts, and I get why now. Like it just literally clicked on this call. Like, of course, because I was not taught the word frequency at a young age. I was not taught the invisible at a young age. I didn't like, yes, I come from a lineage of women who were healers and witches and whatever you want to call them and clairvoyants, but guess what? They all were hiding it. They all didn't want to share it because it was too much. So I wasn't taught that we were of this lineage of priestesses. I was taught like, oh, you have that thing we all have. Shh, like small, silent. And it is not an accident that now I get to share with the world like dip your toes in the invisible, learn the language of frequency, like share your sight of the unseen, because that's all I wanted when I was smaller, was someone to be like, I know why you're too much, because you're sharing God with us. You're sharing like downloads with us. You're sharing such important shit with us, because that would have changed everything. And now I get to do that because there's this practice of embodiment. But it's like, it's taken me 50 years to realize that, like, would you ever say like God is so much? Like divinity is just so much. Like, getting these beautiful channeled messages, oh, so much. Like you wouldn't use that in the same sentence. Like we can say that about ourselves. Even though we're channeling source energy, even though we're on the frequency of the divine, we're willing to say it's too much. Like, and so now we're going to change that. We're going to reprogram. And it is no different with the title of our podcast. Like, are you kidding me? The Codes of Sisterhood. There's so much, and much can mean depth, could mean power, could mean alignment, could mean sacred, could mean ancient, could mean like aligned, inspired. And if that's too much, like stick me in the world of too much of that, leave me there, go away, and don't ever come back and get me, because that is where I want to spend the rest of my life. And I'm so grateful for this topic, because I finally am like not hiding from myself. So thank you.
Mm. Wow. Well, first, Linda, I want to say that whenever I get a message from you, whenever I see your gorgeous face and I feel your energy, I feel like this huge warm blanket wrapping around me in love and in light and in positivity and in aliveness. And so for me, I love who you are. And I love like just like the vibrancy and the energy and the voice and the humongous smile, and just like how you pour love onto every human that you come in contact with is quite priceless. And so I feel honored and blessed that I am in that group of humans that get to, that are blessed enough to receive the immensity of your love and of your light and of your too muchness. It's fucking extraordinary. And I love it and I thank you for it. Whew. I also grew up with too much this and too much that. And it was always shamed. I was too loud. My laughter was too loud. I definitely love too loud and too much and too quick. And um, you know, just too much everywhere. And so I'm obnoxious. Like that's what I was told. You are obnoxious. You are just like, you need to tone it way down, girl. Like way down. And so, yeah, it created all kinds of insecurities. It made me feel like I lived in a world that I didn't fit into. I lived in a family that I didn't fit into. And that, that just took me down so many different roads. And now at 52, well, before I turned 52, but in my mid to late 40s, I just began going through a journey of like, F this. I realized that no matter what I do, no matter how much I try to please everyone else, no matter how much I try to twist, turn, do all kinds of things to fit into the image that other people have of me that is ideal for who I should be, that it just wasn't going to make everyone happy. Someone was always going to have something to say about me. And I started realizing that the person that I cared about was me. Like I really cared, what do I think about me? What do I believe about me? And so I started aligning more and more to what does Maria, what do I care about? How do I honor me? And how do I honor this existence? And how do I be more of me and live in my truth? And the more I started doing that, the more in love with myself and with life I became. And I shed this huge weight off my shoulders of pretense, of people pleasing, of feeling inadequate, of feeling like I didn't fit in, like I wasn't enough. And that started the thing that I love the most is that I started giving my daughters permission to be themselves. And I'm so proud of that. Because let me tell you, I named my coaching business Your Orgasmic Life because the moment I began that journey with myself and honoring me and like setting a standard that I am not going to dishonor myself. If it's between me and you, I'm choosing me and I'm going to honor me and I'm going to respectfully let you know that. My life just became orgasmic. Like I feel pleasure in everything in my life because I have nothing to hide. I have nothing to omit. And I'm quite okay with being rejected. I fell in love with, hey, I'm not your cup of tea. I'm not your glass of wine. I'm okay with that, baby. I'm not supposed to be everybody's cup of tea. So it also, it really rearranged my nervous system to be quite okay with rejection, especially in dating. I was like, you don't like me? Great. I'm glad I found out in our first conversation. Have a nice life. I love you. Because then I didn't make it about me. I didn't make it that because I was missing something, somebody didn't want me. And that was so huge in my life, like so huge in my life. And so, yeah, life just has become an explosion of this blissful energy that I carry throughout the day that has me feel solid within myself and proud of who I am as a woman, as a mother, as a friend, as a girlfriend, as like, like as an ex-wife, as an aunt, as like all kinds of different ways that I exist as a woman, as a coach. I like, yeah, it really gave me back my life and this beautiful peace that I carry within me and just so much aliveness. And for me, that's what pleasure is. For me, pleasure is complete aliveness and feeling at home in my body. And that's another aspect of the whole thing of it was like being too much also meant I was too much in my body. And so I grew up believing that my body wasn't good enough and my breasts were too small and my nose wasn't good enough and I didn't like the little crooked little thing on the top of my nose. And I had plans of doing a nose job and a boob job, and I was always trying to figure out how to rearrange my body. And then later on in life I developed breast cancer and then I removed my right breast. And going through that journey like really showed me what was important in life, what is important in life, what really matters in my life. And now I feel sexier, more beautiful, more vibrant with a freaking scar across my chest. And the funny thing is, I had the opportunity to get a boob job. I had the opportunity to get this one reconstructed and this one enlarged if I wanted to for free. because I live in Canada, and in our healthcare, there are certain things you still get for free. So I could have done the whole bit, and I actually chose not to even reconstruct this one. I said, this is here to teach me something about myself, and so this is how I want to maintain my body. And it just expanded me. I feel so stunning in my body, and I love my scar. And it's just a reminder of, for me, every day that I look at it, it's a reminder of beauty, strength, courage, resilience, and the fact that it like, it doesn't matter what happens in life. It's how we show up. I think sexiness is an inside job, and sexiness comes from the inside out. And I feel sexy as fuck. And I'm gonna rephrase that. I am sexy as fuck. And so I invite any woman who's feeling, because this wasn't always me. I was so self-conscious. I had a very diminishing listening of myself. I used to say very negative things to myself. I couldn't receive compliments at all, or any acknowledgement of who I am and my character, and the value that I bring. And so if you're out there and you're like, well, I don't know how to get there, or that's not possible for me, that's a lie. Because if you met the woman that I used to be prior to breast cancer, that woman was very shut down, depressed, and she didn't value herself at all. And she had, like, she couldn't receive anything positive about herself. And so have self-compassion and do little things here and there. One of the things that helped me was starting with mirror work. And when I started with that, I thought it was stupid and ridiculous, because it's very simple. Like, I stood in front of the mirror and I said, 2 or 3 things that I forgave myself for. So it started with, like, forgiving myself for something, which my list was huge, the things I had to forgive myself for. And then, say a few things of, like, what do I love about myself? And that was always very challenging. Like, to even come up with 3 things that I loved about myself. And then, what do I love about my body? Oh, even worse. But that's how I began. And as I progressed, doing, just looking at myself in the mirror, just being with me, and starting to develop a relationship with me, the list of the things I forgave myself for got smaller, and the list of the things that I love about me and my body got huge. And then in the beginning, I couldn't look myself in the eyes and say, I love you, because there was so much I had to hate myself for, and so much I was ashamed about. And again, the more I did this simple exercise, the more I learned about myself, and the more I learned to appreciate myself, and the more I learned to forgive myself and have self-compassion. And now, like, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I want to kiss you, woman. I adore you. I respect you. I honor you. I appreciate you. And I will always do my best for you. So I invite you to, try it out. And I love you. And we love you. And you're not alone.
Beautiful share, Maria. Oh my goodness. Gosh, guys, what is absolutely incredible about those conversations that we're having is that we are such a different people coming from totally different backgrounds with completely different experiences. And there's always something that we can see that connects us, but ultimately what makes us the same. This is something that we love divide each other all the time in this society, in this world, like look for all the differences, look for all the ways that we are different, but ultimately we are so alike. We feel the same, and most of us actually struggled with same things, growing up, like obviously there are differences, but the core is the same. And like when I was growing up, I always felt too much. I was always told to that I am too much. So the same as you said, Maria and Linda, it's the same thing, right? It's like, oh, you are too loud, too emotional, too happy, just too bold, too brave, too everything, too smart sometimes in certain, just too outspoken, to but everything was done in a context of shame. So there's so much layers to the whole conversation here, because yes, like being us, like in a self-expression of who we are, was shamed. So there's so much shame attached to it. But also through this shame, we went to the patterns of people pleasing, because we start questioning ourselves over and over again. It's like, oh, will they like me? Will they love me? What they will think about me? Oh my, I shouldn't have said that. Or I shouldn't have, jump happily, or I shouldn't sing, or shouldn't. And there's this constant battle in your head, and it's like questioning yourself over and over and over again. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's so exhausting, because and what, on top of the shame, you start to create fear of, yeah, just being around others, because will they accept you? And what I've learned through, and it's so funny because I was actually, before we even decided on that topic this week, I was recording a reel literally about that, which is so funny because I was like, and the reel is like, will they love me? Will they like me if they knew? And ultimately, what I think it is all about, will I? Will I like me? Will I love me? What I think about myself? Because we completely kind of shutting down our self-expression in the name of people pleasing, in the name of being accepted. But when we start kind of diving deeper into that, we start realizing that people react to us this way because we triggered something in them, something they want or something they afraid to express themselves. But obviously as a kid, it's like we cannot see that this way. It's just like whatever you do is just wrong. You happy, you're wrong. You sad, you're wrong. You angry, you're wrong, You think you're wrong. You quiet, it's wrong. It's basically just wrong. Everything you do is wrong. That's how we kind of sieve that through as kids, and that's how we see it, and that's how we starting to see ourselves. And then when we start really looking into that, it's like, oh my goodness, like if I start really appreciating all the parts of me, but maybe first, before we start appreciating, we have to accept them. That's everything changes. And my daughter, uh, my daughter is super expressive. She reminds me so much of me when I was small, and she can be a lot, like a lot. And sometimes I sit in on watching her and be like, she is a lot, and it's so freaking wonderful. It's just incredible that she so freely is herself, that she so freely express everything. So yeah, so everything goes back to being home with yourself, accepting who you are, and then you go back to the truth of who you are. And that's where the authentic expression comes to life. And when you start tuning into that, then everything changes. But it's scary as fuck. This is something I still work on. Like that's been my work, like for last few months, just to actually open myself fully and transparently, and say everything the way it is and what I feel. It's like, and it's scary because you're afraid, right, of judgment and rejection. But when you make home within yourself, you stop caring as much, because as Maria said, I'm not everyone cup of tea or a glass of champagne. Not everyone likes it, and it's okay. because that's what makes me special. And that's what makes everybody special. Not everyone likes everything. And because of that, the world is so beautiful and interesting.
I think I'd like to pick up the torch where you were talking about being authentic and living in your full self. That's the best segue for what I'm feeling in this moment is I've always gotten feedback from my whole entire life that I'm like, I have a big head. I used to think I literally had a big head. Before I knew anything about the ego, I would like press on the sides of my head and press on my head. Like, how do I make this head that's giant smaller? I didn't realize that I had an ego problem according to other people. And I just think that that's such a beautiful thing as a young kid to move through the world. Like, just not understanding that you have a big head means means anything but the head is actually a physical large thing. I went on to become a massage therapist. And in the process of being in massage school, there was this mentorship program that I did. And at one point, I told my mentor, well, I don't want to be full of myself. I mean, gosh, like, and she turned it on me and she said, Alicia, if you're not full of yourself, then who are you going to be full of? And it gave me such great pause, and I'm still pausing over this. And this was 25 years ago, 27 years ago, something like this, 25 years ago. And there's just this idea that like I am filling up to the brim with myself and with who I am and with my ideas. And sometimes it feels like too much. And it feels like too much usually when the outside world is reflecting emotions that feel unpleasant to me. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like too much at all. It just feels natural. It feels like I might as well run. It feels like I'm like kicking it in often at you know how you're racing and like running a mile and the first 3 laps are a certain pace and the fourth lap picks up and then by the end you're just like sprinting in. I often feel like I'm close to the end, getting faster and faster and sprinting in. And sometimes I come into people who like will kind of flip that. Even when I'm in a space of rest, I feel this way. Like I'm finishing something, I'm working on something, there's something coming. And that can reflect out to the world as like mania. It can reflect out to the world as like workaholism. Like there's all kinds of things that people can project onto us to make us feel, to make me feel like I'm not full of myself in the right way, like I'm somehow off track of this fullness. But I was contemplating this, like the continuum of not feeling good enough and then feeling like too much. And I think when I'm most susceptible to being knocked off my rocker by other people's emotions is when I've gone recently from a place of not feeling good enough and then I'm being too much. And then I see that someone is in a negative reaction, let's say, to my too muchness. And then I realize, whoa, maybe I am too much. And then I start with that self-doubt, that like self-deprecation talk, stuff like that. And I have a completely open center, a completely open solar plexus in the human design, the place where the emotions are stored. So when I see an emotion and I'm not completely regulated, meaning I've been kind of pinging back and forth, too much, not enough, not enough, too much, not enough, too much, too much, not enough, not enough, too much, not enough, back and forth. And then someone throws some kind of emotion at me that like reflects in me like, oh, they must not like me, or they must feel hurt by me, or they're triggered by me, or it looks like something I did might actually ruin their life right now. Like I just take all of this on and I shove it into that open center, and then I take it on as my own. And when it's completely open like that, emotions come in and we don't just process them as our own, we amplify them. So I turn up the volume on that if I'm not cautious that like I just received an emotion. Is it time to like process this, or can I just gently return it to the sender? And I have gotten so much better over the years at like experiencing someone else's response to my too muchness and just being able to return it to sender. Um, but I am noticing, because we are reflecting on the week, I took on a really big project at our store, like a huge project to like take out the whole year of the marketing and put it in a plan. And it's brilliant. It's so organized, and like I know it's going to take people some time. And towards the end, like right when I'm like putting it on the wall or like doing the final tweaks in the Canva design to like get this so people can digest it with me, I'm turning to my husband and I'm like, "Are you even going to use this?" Like I'm just starting to project all my doubts outward. Like, who's going to use this? Like, I mean, I put like 3 days straight mania into this, being too much, throwing all of my organizational skills, all of my marketing brilliance into now and applying it to this way big project. And right as I'm hanging it up on the wall, "Are you even going to use this?" Like asking someone to fill my, and if he said no, that's a stupid idea, I would fill my open center with emotions and then amplify them. And geez, I've got someone to blame now for this failure happening. Like, so this is a really cool conversation because I just caught myself doing that and I nipped it. I was like, are you even gonna use this? And he's like, "Yeah, I will." And I'm so glad he got that. He gave me that response because I know I'm gonna have to help him use it at first. He's not gonna totally understand this like really complex thing that I've created because I took my too much very confidently and put it into our work, which is gonna do a lot of beautiful things. But it was me trusting that my too much is going to be held in a beautiful way, or even held in a way that I can handle. And it reminds me of this idea of when we do bring too much to a situation, it does apply pressure everywhere outside of us. Like there's a pressure if we are big and we walk into a room of a lot of other big people, we're all of a sudden more like sardines. We're like pressurizing each other. And I did hear Melanie Ann Layer, one of our mentors, say recently that like everything beautiful comes from a good amount of pressure. And it's how we deal with this pressure, how we organize this pressure in our lives that really informs what gets to how beautiful and how successful and how important these things are in our lives. So this, I'm always 100%. I've always been too much. As a baby, I cried too much. As a young kid, I sang too loudly. I sang at the wrong times. As a teenager, I just had all the ideas and I wanted everyone to do all of my ideas. And I was like, all of the clubs, any possible thing that I could participate in. I was like all in participating in these things. And people's response to me was to get overwhelmed because I could handle so much, jealous because I could handle so much. And it was I often get opposite responses, and just picking all of this out, I do think it's because I wasn't very good at allowing other people to have emotions around me when I was being too much. I just let those emotions, those are their emotions. People can have facial expressions. They can have those. I don't have to make their facial expressions mean something longer than their facial expression. I'm super excited about knowing that moving forward. Um, yeah, I think most of my problems with fullness, with too much, have been like either not being able to meet other, mostly I think not being able to meet other people's emotions. And then there was a phase in my life where I was experiencing anxiety regularly from external pernicious influences. And when I couldn't manage those emotions too, um, that's really when too much became like something that instead of creating a diamond out of the pressure, I would just go into hiding because of the pressure. But I can say now that that happens very seldom, that I would go into hiding because of pressure, or if I felt like someone didn't think that I was amazing, if I got feedback that I was anything less than amazing, I would go hide. Like, what? I don't have to be everyone's glass of wine, Maria. You know? That's very true. But this body, this being, this force that animates this body is really attached to people feeling joy. So when I notice that my fullness feels like it's knocking other people over rather than creating a pressure system, the codependent side of me wants to manage everything to bring back harmony rather than trusting these other people that are in my orbit are managing themselves. I think there's this too much thing. I feel like I'm too much when I'm triggering like emotions in other people because I'm not trusting their too muchness too. And I think I want to right now say that for future Alicia moving forward, I hope that I trust other people's too muchness as much as I've learned to trust myself. Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Alicia. Thank you so much for everything you shared. And I want to kind of change it a little bit. So the conversation's been like being too much too big. And my experience in growing up is I was too quiet. And what ended up happening with that is that like as a projector, I'm also very much an observer. And once I found out about human design and understand like how my chart works and how and who I am, it brought so much resonance because I was always told I was too quiet and I always thought there was something wrong with that. And which in turn brought on taking on the identity of then being too quiet and actually not speaking at all and holding myself back, even in moments when I wanted to say something, in moments where I wanted to speak my truth. And I remember even being even to this day, sometimes it happens where I'm like in bigger groups, like bigger rooms where everybody's talking and it's like I want to say something and everybody's talking over each other and it's just my triggered, little Julie just okay, I'm just going to sit back and go in the corner because it's just easier that way. It's easier to just not say anything. It's easier to keep the peace. It's easier to not interrupt, right? That's the other thing is like you don't want to interrupt. You don't want to put yourself out there and be too much in that end. And so there was this kind of interesting balance of trying to figure out like, okay, so I am quiet because I am the observer. I love sitting in and taking everybody's energy and seeing what everybody has to say. And sometimes it's just nice to just sit and chill and just receive. But then it's like, how do I find that balance on when I do want to speak, when I do want to say something? And it's like taking on that identity and being that quiet, but I took it to the extreme and then just kind of fully holding myself back and not saying anything at all. And so it's like finding that like sweet balance between the two. But then it's like it's challenging because it's the perception, right? Like so what you believe about yourself is what you get shown to the outside world. So like I thought I was being too quiet and then that's what I was hearing. Even like past after like, oh Julie, you're too quiet. Like, oh Julie, like you should say something. And that was just constantly being mirrored to me of what I'm here to learn and what I'm here to move through. Because even though like, and there were times where I did take it as like, it was triggering and I took it as like, well, that's just who I am. Like deal with it. But, it was actually showing me of, there's a sweet balance and there's a sweet balance of there is this part of you, but then there's also that part of you and loving both ends of it, loving both sides of it. And my own choice of when I get to choose which part I want to bring in when. and not choose from a place of, I don't want to speak because I don't want to interrupt, because I don't want to, you know, get anybody upset. It's more, I choose from a place of power that today I feel like being quiet. And then the next day, well, you know what? I got something to say. So y'all gonna listen. And it's this like interesting dynamic of like navigating. And it took me a while to get to this point, and it's still not perfect. There's still moments where I would start talking and someone interrupts, and then I don't want to continue my story. But then there would be people in the room who've known me for a while. They're like, continue. Or sometimes I have to get out of my own way and be like, well, as I was saying, and bring it back. But there's still that little Julie who's like, it's just easier. Let's just go hang out in that corner. And it's one of those things that when you recognize your trigger, your wounds, then in that moment you have the power of choice. And there may be times where that choice is to soothe your inner child and go hang out in the corner. And that's okay, as long as you're aware of it. And then there's other times where you're like, okay, inner child, like you and me, we got this, like we're gonna speak. And you hold yourself and you go through it. And it's not going to be linear, and it's going to be up and down. And I think the idea is just to be compassionate towards ourselves, towards, you know, who we are and our journey and our healing journey, because it's not linear at all. Once you think you've healed one thing, and then the universe is like, oh, hello. And so, yeah, Linda. And so that is something that came through my heart that I wanted to share with you, of like what I've like navigated through this lifetime, continue to. And yeah, I believe, Maria, you are next.
Thank you for giving us the other side, Julie, because I want to talk a little bit about motherhood in the context of this, because I think it's quite important as we become mothers or we become parents, to really notice, you know, the character of our children. Like, I have my older daughter is such a free spirit. She was the kind of child that you brought to the party and she became the life of the party. And I wasn't even in the door yet, and the child would run off and I wouldn't see her until I was calling her for us to leave. And then when I was calling her to leave, she'd be like, can we stay an extra half an hour? Can I sleep over? She was just so independent, so free, so full of energy. And then my younger daughter would cling to my leg, would be like hiding between my legs. She would be like sitting right beside me. And she would take at least a half an hour to 45 minutes to observe, to feel grounded, and to ease into the space. And because I didn't have all the tools that I now have, initially I'd be like, come on, go play with the kids. What's going on? What's wrong? This and that and the other. And it was a little bit of encouragement. It was a lot of forcing. And I truly believe that it matters for us to notice and to ask our children questions and to really understand that each one of our children is an individual. And that it matters to listen to their bodies, to listen to their souls, to listen to their way of being and the way that they want to shine their light in this world. And it wasn't until much later, once I started doing self-development. And yes, like Alicia said, like shyness and silence can also be perceived as too much. Absolutely. So Yeah, it wasn't until later on when I started doing self-development and I started learning more about child development and all these different things and human design that I got to see with both of my children are projectors, but they're different kinds of projectors. And I used to force my younger daughter, when people would come over, to come out of her room and say hi, to be in the room with everybody else. And if she wouldn't, if she didn't feel like it, if I would shame her and I would say, hey, you're being, you're not being hospitable, you're being weird, or that's not nice what you're doing. It's not nice, like that's rude. You have to come and say hello to people, you have to spend time with people. What are they going to think? And so I invite all parents from a young age to start really getting to know your child and their way of being. And instead of planting into them, this is how you have to fit into society, asking them what is aligned with them about the way that they want to be self-expressed in the world. Because that teaches them, first of all, that they can be individuals and that they can be themselves, and also that they're being respected for who they are. And that is huge. And so when my younger daughter was about 11, 12, I started this journey of really releasing being a helicopter mom and a controlling mom. And I'm going to tell you what to do, where to go, and how to do it, mom, because I know best for you. And it was challenging. It was really challenging because I actually had to accept when my daughter would say, no, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to do that activity, or I don't want to go to these people's homes, or I'm going to come out and say hello and then I'm going back in my room. You guys have fun with whatever it is you have planned. And actually respecting that. But what happened as a result, now that my daughter is almost 20, she comes to me and she says, Mom, you don't know how much I value the fact that you have respected me and who I am all these years, because now I really trust myself and I believe in myself. And the level of love and respect that you have shown me, I know that that's what I deserve from other people. And I know that when I make choices and they don't go the way that I want them to go, when I make mistakes, when I fuck up, I know that you're going to respect me as a human being, and that you're going to guide me, you're going to help me with the solution, or you're going to listen to me as I figure out my own solution. But I'm not going to lose your love. I'm not going to lose your respect. And that means so much to me. And that is pretty huge. Like, to know that both of my children can come to me with anything and everything, but they know that they're being respected as women and as individuals and as themselves. And like I said, that wasn't an easy journey for me as a mom. It took some years, and I'm still working at it because my children are always changing and developing. And the default for me is like, I fucking know more than you. I'm older than you. Who do you think you are? Like, I'm going to tell you what's right. Like, that's the default. And I catch myself. And sometimes I say it and I'm like, I said it. You know? But it's like creating also that level of playfulness and that level of like, hey, like, I'm like, I tell my daughters all the time, this is the first time that I have a 25-year-old who's also a mom and an almost 20-year-old. So excuse me, but I'm going to fuck it all up. Like, let's just be straight. Because I've never had a 25-year-old daughter and I've never had an almost 20-year-old daughter. This is my first time. So They know that at every stage, I'm going to F it up. And it's about having that openness and the freedom to F it up, because it's such a loving space, and it creates so much intimacy. I like the relationship that I have with both of my daughters is like a dream come true. We hold each other, we have each other's backs, we cry together, we dance together, we laugh together, we do crazy shit together. And like my children have both said, like, I want you to be my mom or my sister or my cousin or somebody in my life in every lifetime. I just want to be with your soul in every lifetime. There's nothing more powerful than that. I think I think the biggest wealth that I could ever have is that my adult children, although they have their own lives and they can choose to exclude me out of it, they actually like spending time with me. They ask me to hang out with me, like obnoxiously. Sometimes I'm like, you're adults, get out of my life for a minute. But like, I think that's the biggest wealth that I could ever have, is to know that my kids actually like me and they want to spend time with me, and that I like them and that I want to spend time with them. And so, yeah, I'd invite us all to look at this too muchness with our children, those of us who are parents, and really, you know, start allowing their self-expressions, their character, their own values to be nurtured and to grow, and let's, and discover each other at every stage of life with the freedom and the compassion that we're gonna F it up. And it's okay. Yeah.
Gosh, everything you say, each and one of you, it like opens so things, it's opening things, and I forgot my pen, so I'm making notes on my phone because it opens so much, and it's like, shit, where are those notes? It's like, there you go. It's like, where's my pen today? It's like every time we talk, it's like just so many things are coming up, and so many things are coming up. So I will try to kind of capture them at least a little bit, but like in Julie's share, it's like it's the whole point. Like we've been put into boxes, and it's the same actually, Maria. That's the whole point. Like we've been put into boxes, and obviously, and we're stepping up into motherhood. Like we totally do that too, right? And we do fuck up like over and over again. It's like to have it. Like, I kind of yeah. I tell my kids as well. It's like give me some grace. It's like I'm a human too. Look, I'm doing my best. I will mess up, but like at least I can come and say sorry. It's like I messed up. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna go perfect. I'm not gonna do perfect, but no one ever does. But that's the whole point, showing that human side, the humanness to all of it. It's so incredible. But the fact that like yeah, because we've been like too much, whatever like we do, like we tend to put ourselves in those boxes, and people tend to put us in those boxes. And like Julie says, it's like so crazy because we're starting to take that as an identity on the way, right? And kind of denying other parts of us to come out and I'm definitely super guilty of that, because yeah, I was taking everything that people are like projecting onto me. I was like, oh yeah, that's what I am, right? And then like you kind of censor yourself and you question yourself all the time and all the time, and you forget there's so much more to you. There's so much more, and allowing that all those parts of you to coexist, and as well understanding the fact that not everybody will be graced with every part of you, and they don't have to. And if they don't, then bye. Like that's the whole point. It's okay. It's really okay. Um, and it's incredible to start to be like, yeah, like I can be this for someone and this for someone else. And there are people that will see all parts of me, but not everybody will. And it's a luxury, it's a blessing, it's the more parts of you someone can see, great. But if kind of learning as well the fact that like I love every part of me, but also being okay with the fact that someone might not like me because they saw just a part of who I am based on certain thing, it's also okay, to understand is that there is depth to me. But if you're not willing to look farther than what you just saw, you're lost. At the end of the day, absolutely you're lost. And the other thing that you said, it's about those triggers. It's like it's a beautiful thing to work with that and see it's like, oh my God, like where do I hide? Right? This is triggered me. Where do I still hide? What fears are coming up? Because as like even in that group, like as I speak, like when we communicate, even like off screen and all this, there's lots of fears coming up, right? There's lots of like, oh, did I like say too much? Did I push too much? Did I like, and then like I sit with it and observe it, right? And it says so much about what we still kind of afraid of, what we still kind of holding on to, kind of wounds and things that we've been carrying with us, and it's a beautiful process. And that's the whole point, guys. It's a beautiful process in everything we do. Is it a motherhood, or is it loving ourselves, or owning every part of us, or stepping into who we fully are? It's a process. And being loving through that is, I think, the most important thing, giving yourself a grace to fucked up, to fall, to get up, say, you know what, actually maybe not. I'm sorry. I can do it again. I was like, and that's okay. Because sometimes we listen to things, we're reading to things, we're looking at people and think, oh my God, like, how did they do it? One step at a time. Fucking up all the time, whole way through, but learning from it. So, listeners, let yourself fucked up. Let yourself get up and try again, because it's a beauty of this experience.
Okay. So before Julie closes us out and before we end, I'm gonna express my too muchness because I'm around my besties in safety. And because what's the point if we're not showing up to practice these codes, then there's no point. And so what I want to share today is like my codes for this conversation. I want to share not just a personal story, but I want to share how this conversation has been coded for me, and I want to share it into our sisterhood. So I did take notes, Aga, because three very distinct things came up, and it's this concept. I've thought about it before, but it just seems so alive in this conversation, and it's like if I lived alone, if I lived like the little prince on my own little planet with just little Linda, like who would I be? To me, who could I be if I had no one but me to reflect on? And that isn't how we were created. We were created to be part of a collective. And so the way I see it is, if I had no mirrors, if I had never seen a mirror in my life, what would I think I look like? How would I see myself if I couldn't see myself? And to me, people, the reason we're not on a little planet by ourselves is because the collective experience is a mirror. Because the mirror helps me to see my physical being, but other people help me to see my soul being. It's a reflection of what I want to experience, a reflection of what my thoughts are telling me, a reflection of what my feelings are doing with me, in me, of me. And when I look into someone's eyes, how I see them seeing me is a code, and I make it mean something. Are you looking at me with love? Are you looking at me like you adore me? Are you looking at me like you get me? Are you looking at me? Are your eyes smiling and twinkling and shining? Or are you looking at me like, what is wrong with her? Are you looking at me like, I don't get her? Are you looking at me like, what is she doing? Why? What is happening? And what do I make your eyes tell me about the reflection it sees when it looks at me? And to piggyback on that, I want to remind us that when we get feedback, okay, this is so coded, but when we get feedback, it's the frequency of the receiver, not the giver. When someone thinks I'm too much, it has nothing to do with am I too much? It has to do with I'm too much for them in this moment. It's totally a feedback of how it's received, not of what and who is giving. So let it remain with the receiver. Like, let the meaning remain with the person it's meant for. Don't, it's not, it's theirs and you're taking it away by making it yours. You're like, well, I must be this. And it's like almost stealing they're not, it has nothing to do with you. It's like they're overwhelmed, they're overloaded. So like, let them have that. And you keep going about with your bigness. Like we've fucked it up. And then the third thing I want to say is, we have spent so much time. I guess I just want to close my conversation with like one of the things that makes this group so special, and that has this group is 100% partly like you guys are a huge reason why I have been so brave in my business, why I have been so brave with my message in these last 30 days. And it's you. I give you the credit. And I give you the credit because you have seen my soul and you have enjoyed it and you have loved on it and you have cherished it and you have protected it. And I think that when we realize we're mirrors to other people's souls, we need to really be gentle with that responsibility. Like, and we need to remember that when someone looks in your eyes, they're making it mean something. They're making what you see in them mean something. And so look at people with the love and the beauty, like go deep and see the layers, see the soul, not the person. See who they are before they came in and who they'll be after they're gone, and then show them that, because we are walking around here and these little eyeballs are transmitting frequencies and messages, and we need to be cognizant. We need to be aware and intentional that our eyes are telling more of a story than our mouths. And so let's really pay attention to how we look and our body language and all the things that are subtle, because they're actually very not subtle and they're changing people's lives. And there's an opportunity here for us to cherish someone so deeply just in the way that we reflect back to them how we see them.
Linda, you just transformed something for me. I am very angry at someone right now. And I'm supposed to see them on Sunday. And I was just going to be angry. And I was just going to show my disapproval for their behavior because it's very hurtful. And I just got that if I come from my anger, I'm just giving that person more proof as to why they need to defend themselves against the world. as to why the world looks at them as negative. And even though it's hurtful what they're doing, more negative energy is not going to create anything good or positive or healing. It is only when we're in the midst of feeling the way that we feel that we choose something different, that we can cause magical change and transformation. It's easy to love someone when they're doing what we want them to do. It's easy to be kind to someone when they're not reacting in ways that feel uncomfortable and hurtful. It actually takes a lot, to love the person beyond their current behavior. And for me, I have the blessing that I have proof that forgiveness and love is what has transformed my entire family. It's what kicked out domestic violence and abuse out of my lineage. And so you saying that, like, I just really got it. Because even though, we do all this self-development, we have tools, we engage in all these kinds of conversations, at the end of the day, we're human beings with emotions. And, as much as I would love to say I've reached a point in my life where I am just going to respond to life in the best way in every situation, that is not true. And so thank you for gifting me this today, because I was bubbling with anger, and I am right about my anger, and I'm justified about my anger. And if I were to share with all of you and the viewers, the situation and the dynamics, I would say 95 or 99% of you would be saying, you're right, you're justified. Like, where's that gonna get us though? Where's that gonna get me? My core values are love, freedom, and courage. And so this weekend, I get to practice being loving and having the courage to be loving, and allowing the other person the freedom to be in what they're dealing with. And instead of reacting from anger, I am making the commitment to come from love, and to remind myself to come from love. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you.
Maria, that was beautiful on so many levels. And I always say we can take all the programs, read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, but at the end of the day, the true work is when life throws you those twists and turns. That's when you take what you have and you alchemize it. It's not when you're sitting there reading that book or listening to the masterclass. It's in these moments, and Linda coming in with her wisdom and you alchemizing this moment in this time of what you're navigating was just absolutely beautiful to witness that, and proof of concept. And without further ado, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for joining us inside the Codes of Sisterhood. May you carry these codes into your life, seeing, loving, and rising with your sisters. Until next time, remember, we rise by remembering who we are together. Thank you.